Hello fellow YouTubers and welcome to another episode of Gaijin Gaming. And tonight, since it is nighttime right now for me, I wanted to talk about another one of my favorite games, and that happens to be Fire Emblem Monsho no Nazo, or Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem. Now, before I get into that, I really wanted to kind of mention something about just the Fire Emblem series. I didn't really start until much later, probably Sacred Stones for the Game Boy Advance, which I have right up here. Of course, it's right at the bottom. But yeah, I have. But anyways, it's that was the first Fire Emblem. That was the first Fire Emblem game I'd ever really had. Kind of just tried and played and actually really enjoyed. And I had tried some of the others, and I was like, okay, I really like this. I love tactical RPGs and stuff. But then I just kind of stopped. I didn't own a Wii when it first came out in the States or anything, and I didn't own a GameCube and stuff. So I kind of was just enjoying the Game Boy Advance games, and only two of them. There's actually three that came out, but only two of them had made it to the States. So I played the Sacred Stones one, and then I just played the one that was just labeled Fire Emblem, and that was all I had. And in 2007, I had studied in Saitama University it's a little bit north of Tokyo, and I had bought a Wii, and the with the Virtual Console, I had seen that there was a few Fire Emblem games, and I was like, heck yeah, I $10 or less to buy a Fire Emblem game, might as well try it. But I was kind of on the fence at first, and the reason why is because I hated Marth. I hated Marth with such a passion, and it all stemmed from the Super Smash Brothers games, and because everybody always had to pick either Marth or kind of like Falco or something, or Sheik, and I hated Marth. I felt so bad, and I always picked Roy, and it just didn't work. But I always picked Roy, and it made me so upset that it was like, here's Marth, and like everybody uses him, and Roy gets no love, and I had this kind of animosity towards Marth, and so I was kind of on the fence about buying the Virtual Console game of Monsho no Nazo. But eventually I did, and I played it a little bit, and I enjoyed it. But then I had to go back to the States, because like when I first started trying to play it, it was pretty hard for me to kind of understand. So I kind of gave up, and I didn't ever get much farther than about a handful. Well, no, I got decently far. I maybe got about 15 chapters in the first. And about this is actually that this here, Monsho no Nazo, the Super Famicom version, has two books. The first book is an actual remake of Ankoku Ryu to Hikari no Ken, and that basically is Shadow Dragon and the Sword of Light. And basically, this was remade for book 1 for this game, and then there's a whole nother book 2 that has different soundtracks and just a lot more stuff to it, I guess. Yeah, in a way, yes, in a way, no. And it wasn't until I had played this game that I actually started to really appreciate the Marth character. The Marth character is quite badass. Maybe not so much in book 1, but in book 2, holy crap. So for this, I guess I want to talk a little bit about the game, like just both book 1 and book 2, and some of the differences and kind of comparing and stuff, and just talk about it, and hopefully maybe pique your interest, because I know that there was a DS remake for book 1, so this is basically they called it, I believe, New Shadow Dragon and the Sword of Light, so it's Shin Ankoku Ryu to Hikari no Ken. And just over the past summer, they had released the second book here. There we go. And that is, okay, Monsho no Nazo Hikari to Kage no Eiyu. So, new Mystery of the Emblem, Legends of Shadows and Lights. Poor translation, I know, but but I don't know how they'll market it. So hopefully they'll give it a kind of better name, because that's kind of a silly name. But yeah, let me first show the opening, and then I'll go from there. So please enjoy. Okay, so since the game is divided into two books, let me briefly talk about book one because I really want to focus on book two, which is the actual name of the game, because book one's a remake. So, book one is Ankoku Ryu to Hikari no Ken, Shadow Dragon and the Sword of Light, and it's a remake of it. So it has the Super Famicom graphics. It kind of adds some of the little things that they had done from Fire Emblem Gaijin. Like you're able to mount and dismount your paladins or your cavalry units as well as your flying units. They added the icon so that you can just kind of look at the icon if you don't feel like reading. But I always feel like reading because I'm always like double checking, be like yes, okay. But real quick about Shadow Dragon and the Sword of Light. Marth's 16 years old, and he has been exiled. His castle's been taken over, so he's been exiled to this small island, and his remaining troops, as well as some of the islanders, go and basically march back to reclaim his castle and to stop Ganef, this dark priest that has resurrected Medius, who was the kind of like last dragon king, if you will, and he's a bad guy. So, of course, I know that was kind of stupid to put it that way, and he's a bad guy, but yeah. So that's what book one is. Really glossed over, really quick, and kind of stuff. Book one for the whole, really for like all the battles, they're just kind of capture the throne, and that's pretty much all you have to do, except for the last chapter. Well, no, even then you have to capture the throne. Never mind. So yeah, all you're doing is just going from like point A to point B, capture the throne. Book two, or Monsho no Nazo, it's the same thing. You have to capture the throne, but they kind of like, it's not you with Shadow Dragon and the Sword of Light. You could kind of just sit there and slowly march to like go one by one. You can't really do that in Mystery of the Emblem or Monsho no Nazo or Book 2. It's really hard. Well, it's not really hard. It's impossible at some battles. You can't do that. And so I really like it. In Book 2, they have a lot more music, so it keeps the game more fresh, because they change it maybe every 6 or 7 chapters or so, and so it keeps it really fresh. And so you're like, ooh, new song, or and they change it, and it's just really nice. About Mystery of the Emblem, it's let me think here. It is takes place 5 years after Shadow Dragon and the Sword of Light, and one of the characters from that part of the game has become king of the continent, and he has been ordering some of the smaller kingdoms like Marth's and some of the others to forcefully take over each other, and Martha's had enough of it, and so he stops it, and he tries to figure out what's the deal, and then he's branded a traitor, and so he has to escape, and in doing so it slowly comes to a point where he actually starts to retrace the steps of his ancestor, who was this legendary hero who had used the Sword of Light, which was the Falchion, and it's actually the same sword that Marth's using in Super Smash Brothers Melee. And he also his ancestor had also had this shield, and the shield is the same one that you see in the opening, and it had those 5 different colored orbs. Now, if you had not played the game before, or had no save file or anything, that had beaten it and gotten all those orbs and stuff, it actually is empty. So as you progress through Book 2 and get the orbs, it actually fills out the shield, which I think is really cool. Because, I mean, the game came out, I guess let's talk about that a little bit. The game came out in 1994, and like really early, like in January, and which is really funny because if from the start of the game, it says 1990 and 1993. So, it came out in 1994. It was developed by Intelligent Systems and published by Nintendo, and this is like 16 years or so, getting close to 17 years before, now. And nowadays we have like trophies and achievements and all that kind of snazzy stuff to be like, hey, look, this is what I've done, kind of thing. So you didn't have that. So you had basically, you start up the game and it's like, oh, I have 3 orbs. Woo! So even nowadays I get all giddy about it just because it's like, ooh, I filled out the shield of seals. I'm happy, kind of thing. There's progress. So that's that. So I really like that. It's the game. Both the games, Mystery of the Emblem and Shadow Dragon and the Sword of Light, both play pretty much the same. There is actually really no difference. Just from the original to the remake of the first one, there's a bit of a difference, but I'm not gonna get into that. I will say the music for Mystery of the Emblem, I really enjoy it, and actually, like, one of the songs it's one of my favorite actually from video games, which maybe some people are kind of like. Wait, like I'll play it for you in a little bit, and you'll probably be like, okay, but I don't know, something about it, just something about it I really enjoy. I highly suggest this game, and if you A, can't read Japanese, B, don't have a Super Famicom, or you can't get a hold of this or whatnot, I highly suggest picking up the DS remakes, and eventually I know that the Mystery of the Emblem will come out in the States sooner or later. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. So hopefully sooner rather than later, maybe Christmas time, they'll come out so you can play both. I definitely have to say, this one is what kind of solidified my impressions of Marth and like how awesome he was. So that's really about it. I just wanted to kind of gush about this game. I love this game. I really do, and it's what made me appreciate Marth. So I mean, if you're a Marth fan, highly suggest the games, of course. And if you don't like Marth, I kind of implore you to kind of try it out, and maybe you might kind of gain I know this might sound stupid, a bit more of a kind of appreciation for the character, like I did. But I mean, not everybody's going to have the same kind of effect. But that's my suggestion to you. So that's really about it. I hope you enjoyed this episode and me kind of gushing about the game. Real quick, I wanted to show you I got something else from the Falcom store. One thing is this, which is the East vs. Sora no Kiseki Alternative Saga t-shirt. Unfortunately, L sizes in Japan do not fit fat Americans like myself, so I'll have to slim down. So, and then the other thing I picked up was the Eiyu Densetsu Sora no Kiseki first chapter scenario book. And basically the scenario book has all of the dialogue for the game. So it's a whole bunch of text. So lots of reading for me. So that's really about it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And that's really about it. So have a good day.